It happens in 1 second. One small mistake. One small sound. A glass slips from a tray, spins in the air, and hits the edge of a marble table. The stem snaps. Red wine explodes across the perfect white floor like blood. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Forks hang in the air. Every head turns. And, in that frozen moment, you can feel it. Someone is about to pay for this. This is not just any place. This is the Harrow Club. Crystal chandeliers. Golden light. White tablecloths so clean they almost glow. Only the richest of the city sit here tonight. They talk about deals, vacations, art, and stock prices. They are used to everything being flawless. They are used to the world bending around them. And sitting at the center of it all, at the best table in the room, is Victoria Harrow. Victoria is the kind of woman people notice as soon as they walk in. Not because she's loud, not because she's smiling, but because she's the person everyone else seems to be trying to impress. Diamonds on her wrist, hair pulled back smooth, a dress that looks simple but costs more than most people make in a month. Her face doesn't show much. A small nod here, the hint of a smile there. Her eyes, cold and sharp, move over the room like they own it. Because in a way they do. And right now, those eyes turn slowly toward the spill. The black maid who dropped the glass is standing very still, as if she can take back what just happened by not moving. Her name is Lena. She wears a plain black uniform and sensible shoes from long hours on her feet. A white apron is tied around her waist. Her hands shake around the small cloth she keeps tucked in her pocket. She can hear her own heartbeat in her ears. She can feel every stare, every little smirk, every whisper growing like a storm behind her back. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. Her voice cracks. She kneels quickly, trying to wipe the wine before it spreads further, but her hands are trembling too much. The deep red has already run into the clean lines of the marble, staining it like a crime. Victoria doesn't shout. She doesn't need to. She takes a slow breath, pushes back her chair and stands. The soft scrape of her chair on the floor sounds louder than any scream. Her heels begin to click across the floor. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Each one lands with the weight of judgment. People lean back in their seats to clear her path, their eyes wide with the hunger for drama. No one dares to step in. No one dares to defend Lena. That's how power works here. It walks alone. Lena looks up just as Victoria reaches her. Her eyes are already wet, but she blinks hard, refusing to let the tears fall. She knows how this goes. She has seen other workers vanish after smaller mistakes. One wrong move, one wrong word, one rich person in a bad mood. That's all it takes. She opens her mouth to try again, to beg, to explain that she hasn't slept much, that she worked a double shift, that her back hurts, that she was just trying to serve faster. But Victoria doesn't care why. Victoria only cares that her perfect evening has been interrupted. Pack your things. Her voice slices through the air, low and cold. You're done. No shouting, no cursing. Just a sentence like a door slamming shut. Lena's mouth stays slightly open, as if the rest of her words have been stolen from her. For a second, she just kneels there, staring at the stained floor, as if maybe she heard wrong. As if maybe there is a chance to fix this. But the room is too quiet. The message is too clear. A small laugh from one of the tables breaks the silence. Someone mutters, "Well, she had it coming. Look at that mess." Another voice whispers something about standards and people these days. Heat rushes to Lena's face. It crawls up her neck and into her cheeks. Shame has a way of feeling like fire and ice at the same time. She wants to disappear, to melt into the floor, to wake up and find this is just a bad dream. But this is real, and she still has to stand up in front of all these people. She lowers her head. "Yes, ma'am," she whispers. No one claps. No one argues. The wealthy go back to their plates. Their glasses are refilled. The soft music starts again as if nothing happened. But for Lena, everything has just broken. She wipes the rest of the spill as fast as she can, her knees pressing into the hard floor. Her palms are damp and raw from the cleaner. She scrubs until the worst of the red is gone, even though she knows her job is already over. She cleans out of habit, out of pride, out of the last bit of dignity she can hold onto. When she finally stands, her legs feel heavy. She smooths down her apron, even though it doesn't matter anymore, and walks toward the small staff room at the back. Every step feels like walking past a crowd of judges. Some look away. Some keep staring. A waiter she's known for years gives her a quick, helpless glance, then looks back at the table he's serving. No one can afford to take her side. Not here. Inside the narrow staff room, Lena's locker is small and dented. She opens it with a quiet click and takes out the little things that are hers. A worn sweater, a plastic container with half a sandwich, a small brown bag with coins and a few crumpled bills, and a tiny, faded handbag that has seen better days. She moves slowly, like if she takes her time, this moment will stretch longer, and she won't have to think about what comes next. When she's done, she holds the bag close to her chest. She takes one last look around. The room that saw her tired smiles, her quiet breaks, her whispered prayers before long shifts. She closes the locker. There is nothing left with her name on it. She walks back through the hallway, past the kitchen where pots are clanging and cooks are shouting orders. A few of them glance at her. They know what that bag means. It means someone didn't survive the night. The head cook, a man with graying hair and tired eyes, gives her a small nod that almost says, "I'm sorry," but he doesn't say it out loud. He can't. The walls have ears here. Back in the main room, the light feels too bright, the music too gentle. Lena keeps her eyes on the ground. If she looks up, she might see their faces. She might see someone smirking. She might see Victoria watching. Her grip tightens on the strap of her bag until her fingers hurt. Then it happens. The seam at the side of the bag is cracked. It has been wearing thin for months. As she shifts it on her shoulder, the small pocket at the side gives way. A folded piece of paper, no, not just paper, a photograph, slides out like a leaf falling from a tree. It glides through the air and lands flat on the polished floor, right where the last drops of wine are drying. Lena doesn't see it fall. She's too busy, trying not to cry in front of strangers. She takes another step, ready to walk out of this place forever. But Victoria does see it. From her table, Victoria's sharp eyes catch the flutter of motion near the floor. She turns, almost out of habit, ready to complain about another mess. But this isn't a glass. This isn't wine. This is something softer. Personal. A piece of someone's life lying in the open. "Wait," she says quietly. The word isn't loud, but it carries. People near her table look up again. Lena stops, confused, then follows Victoria's gaze to the floor. Her heart drops. That photo is all she has. The only copy. The only proof that there was a time when she was loved, when someone held her hand and told her they would build a life together. She bends, but Victoria is faster. The wealthy woman rises from her seat, the room once again going silent as she walks toward the photograph. Her heels echo like they did before, but this time there is something different in her steps. Less anger, more curiosity. She reaches down and picks up the photo between two careful fingers. It is worn at the edges, the corners curled. The colors are fading, but the faces are still clear. A younger Lena smiling in the sunlight, and beside her a man with a familiar grin, his arm wrapped around her like she is the most precious thing in the world. Victoria's face changes. You can see it even from across the room. The tight line of her mouth loosens. Her eyes narrow, then widen. Her breath catches. Her perfectly controlled mask cracks in 1 second. Her hand rises to her lips, pressing against them as if she is trying to stop a sound from escaping. But the sound still comes. A small, broken gasp. Because the man in that photo is not just some stranger. He is someone she once knew. Someone she once loved. Someone whose memory still keeps her awake some nights when the house is too quiet and her heart feels too empty. He is the one who left without a word. He is the one she never stopped looking for in crowded rooms. He is standing there in that picture, alive and smiling next to the maid she just fired like she was nothing. And in that moment, time pauses. The clink of glasses fades away. The music becomes a distant hum. The people, the tables, the chandeliers, all of it blurs at the edges. There is only Victoria, the photograph in her hand, and Lena standing a few feet away, frozen in fear and confusion. Victoria lifts her eyes to Lena, really seeing her for the first time, and everything stops. Lena stands frozen as Victoria's gasp echoes in her mind. She doesn't understand why this wealthy woman, the same woman who fired her without hesitation, now stares at a simple old photograph like it's a ghost come to life. Lena wants to reach for the picture, but her feet feel rooted to the ground. The air around them thickens with questions neither woman is ready to ask out loud. And then, with a voice so soft it barely seems to belong to her, Victoria says, "Come with me." The room stirs. People whisper again. A few raise brows. No one has ever heard Victoria Harrow's voice shake. Lena stands in place, clutching her small bag, unsure whether this is another humiliation or a strange twist of fate. But when Victoria turns away, still holding the photo, Lena follows her, not because she trusts her, but because she needs that picture back. She needs that piece of her life. Victoria leads her through a long corridor of glass and dim lights. They enter a private lounge, a quiet place away from the polished stairs of the elite. The door clicks shut behind them. The silence is thick, heavy, awkward, a silence filled with secrets. Victoria places the photograph on a small table between them. She stares at it like she's afraid to touch it again. Her voice cracks. "Where did you get this?" Lena stiffens. She had hoped for an apology first, maybe a moment of respect, but she should have known better. People in power only ask when they want something. Still, she answers quietly, "It's mine." Victoria's eyes lift. "The man in the picture, how do you know him?" Lena hesitates, not because she wants to hide anything, but because she has learned that telling the truth doesn't guarantee kindness. She takes a slow breath, holding her bag close. "He was my husband." The room sways for Victoria. Husband. The word hits her chest like a punch. Her throat tightens, and she turns away slightly, hiding her face. How long were you married?" 7 years. Lena replies, her voice warming as she speaks. "He passed 5 years ago. A heart condition. He was working too hard, too many jobs. He didn't like to rest. He said he had to provide for us." She lowers her gaze. "For me, and for our daughter." A tear slips down Victoria's cheek before she can stop it. She wipes it fast, as if she's ashamed of being human. She turns back to Lena. "He never mentioned me?" Lena shakes her head. "He didn't talk much about his past. He just said he had made mistakes, that some people he cared about he didn't deserve." Victoria's chest tightens again. She looks down at the faded smiles in the picture. She whispers his name under her breath, barely audible, and the sound trembles like a wound reopening. Lena hears it and freezes. "You knew him," Lena says softly, not as a question, but as a truth settling in the air. Victoria nods. Her voice is thin. "He was the love of my life." She moves her hand across the table, her fingers hovering above the photo, but not touching it. "He left suddenly. I didn't know why. I thought I did something wrong. I thought I wasn't enough. I spent years trying to understand." Lena's breath catches. She didn't know this part of his story. She only knew the man who worked through pain, who came home exhausted but smiling for their daughter, who hid his regrets behind gentle eyes. She never knew he left someone behind. "I'm sorry," Lena whispers. "I didn't know he—" Victoria raises a hand, gently, stopping her. "You don't owe me an apology. I owe you one." She lets out a shaky breath. "I fired you without thinking, without even seeing you, without wondering what you've been carrying." Lena's eyes soften, but she doesn't speak. She's not ready to forgive. The sting is still fresh. Her hands still tremble. Victoria steps closer, her emotion raw. "You don't understand. I've spent years hating myself, years wondering where he went, years imagining a future we would never have. And now I find out that while I was breaking inside, he was building a family. He was loving someone else. He was raising a child." Her voice breaks again. "And he was happy." Lena watches her, conflicted. Part of her aches for this woman's pain, Another part of her remembers the sting of humiliation, the heat of shame in that dining room. My daughter misses him every day, Lena says quietly. She asks why the world took him. I don't have answers. I just try to keep her fed, keep her safe, keep her proud of him. She swallows. Proud of us. The words land heavy on Victoria's heart. She thinks of her own empty house, the echo of her footsteps, the untouched guest room that once held hope. She thinks of the life she pictured and the one she got instead. You're raising a child alone, Victoria whispers, and I treated you like nothing. Lena looks away, blinking back tears. I'm used to it. That sentence hits Victoria harder than everything else. Used to it. Used to disrespect. Used to fear. Used to losing jobs over small mistakes. Used to surviving. A long silence stretches between them. It isn't cold now. It's exposed. Vulnerable. The two women stand there with a single photograph between them. A picture that holds two different pasts and one painful truth. Victoria moves first. She picks up the photograph, holding it with both hands like something fragile. She offers it back to Lena. This belongs to you. Lena takes it, her fingers brushing over the worn edges. The picture was almost lost tonight. Her job was lost tonight. Her dignity was almost taken too. But now, there is something else here. Something she didn't expect. Victoria sits down, her voice trembling. Tell me about him. Tell me the parts one never got to know. Lena hesitates. She could walk out. She could leave Victoria standing in the ruins of her regrets. But something inside her softens. Maybe because she sees genuine pain. Maybe because this woman loved the same man she did. Maybe because for the first time tonight, someone actually wants to hear her. She sits slowly, and she begins to speak. She tells Victoria about the nights he spent fixing old bikes with their daughter. About the days he came home covered in dust from construction jobs, but still kissed her, like she was his forever. She tells her how he lifted their daughter onto his shoulders and told her she could touch the sky. She tells her how he held her hand the night she got sick, and how he whispered promises he couldn't keep because time was running out. As she speaks, Victoria cries softly, quietly, like a woman mourning not just a man, but an entire life. And for the first time since the wine spill, Lena's hands stop shaking. Victoria listens, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. Two women, once strangers divided by wealth, now connected by love and by loss. When Lena finishes, the room is quiet again. But it's a different kind of silence. A softer one. A human one. And neither of them knows it yet. But everything between them is about to change. Victoria sits in silence long after Lena stops speaking. Her breathing is uneven, her fingers trembling against her knee. The photograph lies between them again, its edges worn, its colors faded, but its story alive in both women now. Victoria lifts her eyes, swollen and red, and looks at Lena as if seeing her for the first time. Not the uniform, not the job title, not the mistake, but the woman, the mother, the widow, the human being whose life was tied to the man Victoria once believed would never leave her. But something deeper stirs in Victoria now, something that feels like shame, regret, and a desperate longing to rewrite years of silence. She steps closer to Lena. I thought he walked away because he didn't want me, she whispers. I thought it was my fault. Her voice cracks. And all this time he was hurting too. Lena doesn't answer right away. She holds the photograph in her lap, her fingers tracing the outline of the smiling man. She remembers the nights he couldn't sleep, the way he stared at the ceiling sometimes, lost in a thought he didn't want to speak aloud, the way he'd kiss her forehead afterward like he was apologizing for something she didn't understand. Now she wonders if he was thinking of the life he left behind. He loved you, Victoria says suddenly, surprising even herself. I can see it in the way he looks at you in that picture. She swallows the lump in her throat. He loved both of us, just not at the same time. The statement hangs heavy between them, a truth neither woman ever expected to share. Lena looks up slowly, her eyes soft but guarded. She doesn't know what to say to a woman who once held everything, money, status, power, and who now stands in front of her stripped of all but honesty. She can see the pain in Victoria's face, the ache of old wounds opening wide. And yet, there is something else hiding there too. Something she can't quite name. Then, the turning point hits, quiet but sharp. Victoria moves toward a small drawer beside the table and opens it with trembling fingers. She pulls out a gold-bound envelope, the kind reserved for important documents or personal secrets. She places it in front of Lena, her eyes downcast. This was meant for him, she says. I kept it for years, waiting, hoping he would come back for it. Her voice softens, but now I know he can't. Lena doesn't touch the envelope yet. What is it? A letter, Victoria whispers. One I never sent. One I should have mailed when he left. It might explain why he disappeared, why he walked away, why he tried to start over, your life, your daughter, everything I never knew. Lena hesitates. She is torn between wanting to know and fearing what the truth might say. She worries about how much of her husband's past she never understood. She worries about what this letter might take from her, what it might give. She touches the edge of the envelope with trembling fingers. It feels heavy, too heavy, as if it carries all the missing pieces of two broken stories. Victoria watches her, her voice barely audible. You don't have to open it. I understand if it's too much, but I want you to have it. Lena meets her gaze, and for a moment the world seems to shrink around them. The kitchen noises fade. The clatter of plates disappears. There is only the soft hum of the air conditioner and the beating of two hearts learning to trust. Lena opens the envelope. The letter inside is handwritten, the ink faded in some places, darker in others where tears once fell. It begins with her husband's name, his full name. Lena never saw his name written like that, careful, elegant letters, written by someone who loved him differently than she did. She reads quietly, lips moving silently over the words. Victoria watches, bracing herself. The letter speaks of fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of failing the one he loved. Fear of being trapped between two worlds, one of wealth and expectation, one of survival and reality. He writes about wanting a fresh start, about running from a life that felt too big and a love that felt too dangerous for a man who came from nothing. He writes about meeting someone kind, humble, strong, someone who understood his quiet pain without asking questions. He writes about choosing a life where he felt useful, needed, loved for who he was and not who he was supposed to become. And he writes one last line, I hope someday, somehow, both of you find the truth, and forgive me. Lena's breath shudders. She presses a hand to her mouth as tears gather her eyes. She didn't know he carried so much guilt. She didn't know he ran from one heartbreak straight into another life, trying to heal himself while building a family he wanted so badly. Victoria's voice trembles. I never blamed him for leaving. I blamed myself. But seeing this, hearing your story, I finally understand. She steps forward. He wasn't running from love. He was running from fear, from expectations, from a world where he thought he didn't belong. Lena looks up slowly, wiping her cheeks. She whispers he belonged with us, even when he didn't know how to show it. Victoria nods, her own tears falling. In this quiet room, the truth settles like dust on forgotten shelves. Two women, once divided by class, race, and circumstance, now bound by grief and love for the same man. And then something shifts. Victoria kneels, not out of weakness, not out of pity, but out of something rare, a wealthy woman bowing her head not to power but to truth. I am so sorry, she whispers, her voice breaking, for firing you, for judging you, for never seeing the world outside my own. Lena's eyes widen. She never imagined this. She never imagined the woman who used to command rooms would one day kneel before her. It feels surreal. It feels impossible. It feels like a moment meant to flip the world upside down. Victoria stays on her knees. I can't change what happened tonight, but I can change what happens next. She looks up, tears streaking her face. If you'll let me. Lena hesitates. She sees sincerity, painful, raw sincerity, in Victoria's eyes. She sees a woman grieving a man she lost twice. She sees someone desperate to make things right. Slowly, Lena reaches down and takes Victoria's hand. A small, simple gesture. But it changes everything. Two women, one photograph, one shared truth, and the moment that turns strangers into something almost like family. The world outside continues. Music playing faintly through the walls, people laughing over their meals, waiters moving from table to table. But inside this room, something new is beginning. Something neither woman expected. Something that will change both of their lives forever. Victoria's knees ache as she stays there on the floor, but she doesn't move yet. There is something honest about being this low. Something true. For years, she has lived above everyone else, above their problems, above their stories, above their pain. Now, kneeling in front of Lena, she feels the weight of every careless moment, every sharp word, every time she thought money made her better than someone else. She looks up at Lena with wet eyes, waiting for anger, waiting for the pushback she knows she deserves. But Lena doesn't pull away. Her hand still holds Victoria's, steady and warm. Slowly, Victoria stands. She wipes at her cheeks, but doesn't bother fixing her makeup. Pride doesn't matter anymore. Image doesn't matter. Only this moment does. She takes a breath and says, "You're not fired." The words come out firm, real. You should never have been fired. Lena feels something loosen in her chest. The fear that gripped her since the glass fell begins to fade. But she doesn't smile. Not yet. A job is important, but it doesn't erase what happened in that dining room. It's not just about the job, she says quietly. It's about how easily you took it from me. Like my whole life was just an inconvenience. The truth hits hard. Victoria nods slowly. You're right. She doesn't try to soften it. She doesn't try to justify herself. I treated you like someone I could replace. Like you were part of the furniture. That was wrong. She pauses, searching for words she has never really used before. You deserve more than my apology. You deserve my respect. Lena studies her face. She hears the difference in her tone. The same mouth that told her to pack her things now speaks with something else, humility, maybe even a kind of fear. Fear of losing another chance to do right. Lena lets out a slow breath. I don't want your pity, she says. I don't want to be your charity case. I just want to be treated like I'm worth something, like my work means something, like my life matters. Victoria steps closer. Then let me start there. Her voice is gentle but serious, with respect, with listening, with seeing you, not just as a maid, not as a mistake I punished, but as a woman who has survived more than I could ever imagine. The door opens quietly and a manager peeks in nervous, Ms. Harrow? Is everything all right? The guests are asking. Victoria turns her head sharply. For a moment, her old coldness flashes, but it's different now. It's not aimed at Lena. Tell them everything is fine, she says, and tell them we are short-staffed tonight, because I almost made the worst decision of my life. The manager blinks, confused. He nods and exits quickly, closing the door behind him. Lena almost laughs at the look on his face. Almost. Instead, she shakes her head and says softly, people don't usually talk like that in front of their staff. Victoria looks back at her. Then maybe it's time they learn. She takes a seat and gestures to the opposite chair. Please, sit. There is no command in her voice now, only invitation. Lena hesitates. All her life, she's been told where to stand, where to serve, where to move. Chairs like that weren't meant for her. But tonight, the world has cracked open. So she walks over and sits down, at eye level, across from a woman who fired her. Across from a woman who loved the same man she did. Victoria's voice is soft. I want to help your daughter. Those words land like a stone in a still pond. Lena's fingers tighten around the photograph in her hand. My daughter is not a project, she says slowly. She's not some way for you to feel better. I know, Victoria answers quickly. I know she isn't. I'm not trying to fix my guilt with money. She takes a breath. But I have resources, connections. I can help her with school, with opportunities, with things her father would have wanted for her. Lena's eyes fill with tears again, but this time it's not from shame or humiliation. It's from something she doesn't let herself feel often. Hope, fear, and hope fighting inside her chest. You think money can replace him? She asks, her voice shaking. No, Victoria whispers, nothing can replace him. Not for you. Not for me. Her own eyes glisten. But money can open doors. It can pay for tutors, classes, colleges, things that shouldn't only be for people who were born into the right zip code. She swallows hard. Let me use what I have to honor him, to honor you, to honor the life he built with you. Lena looks at her for a long moment. Every instinct tells her to say no, to keep her pride and walk away. But then she sees her daughter's face in her mind, her bright eyes, her big dreams, the way she talks about being a doctor or a pilot or someone important one day. Lena has always told her she can be anything, even while knowing how hard the world makes it for girls like her. Help her, Lena says at last, but don't do it for him. Do it because you finally see me, because you see her, because you know we deserve it. I do, Victoria answers. I see you. I do now. She almost smiles through her tears, and if you'll allow it, I'd like to meet her. Not today, not tomorrow, when you're ready. Lena nods slowly. Maybe, one day. The room feels different now, lighter, but still full of emotion. A strange calm settles between them, like the quiet after a storm. Outside, the restaurant hums on. People continue their meals. Glasses clink. Laughter rises. But in this small private space, something rare has happened. Power has shifted. Hearts have changed. Victoria stands and straightens her dress. We're going back out there, she says softly, but this time we walk together. She looks at Lena's uniform. You're not leaving with a bag in your hand. You're walking out as part of this place, on your own terms. Lena wipes her face and stands too. She looks down at her shoes, then at the door, then back at Victoria. People saw you fire me, she says. They saw me on the floor. They laughed. They judged. What are they going to think now? Victoria's jaw tightens. Let them see me apologize, she replies. Let them see me wrong. Let them see me fix it. Maybe it'll remind them that money doesn't make us better, just louder. They step out together. The dining room goes quiet again as they appear. The chandeliers shine down on the same white tablecloths, the same perfect dishes, the same wealthy guests. But now, everyone's attention is on something else. On the rich woman with tear-streaked eyes and the black maid walking beside her, shoulders squared, head a little higher. Victoria pauses in the center of the room. She doesn't hide. She doesn't rush back to her table. She clears her throat and says, loud enough for the room to hear, I owe someone here an apology. A ripple moves through the guests. Forks pause. Glasses hover in midair. No one speaks. I fired this woman tonight, Victoria continues, gesturing to Lena. Not because she was unfit for her job. Not because she did something unforgivable. But because I let my pride be bigger than my humanity. Her voice doesn't shake now. It's steady. Honest. I was wrong. Lena stands there, eyes on the floor, then slowly lifts her gaze. She catches sight of the same man who laughed at her before. His smirk is gone now. Another woman at a table looks down, ashamed. A waiter she knows gives her a small nod, this time not of pity, but of pride. Victoria turns to Lena and says, in front of everyone, You are welcome here, as long as you choose to be. Not because I allow it, but because you have earned it with your work, your strength, and your dignity. For the first time that night, a small, real smile appears on Lena's face. She doesn't bow. She doesn't shrink. She just stands there, holding the photograph in her hand, feeling the weight of the moment settle in her bones. She is seen, really seen. Later, when the night ends and the last table is cleared, Lena walks out of the Harrow Club, not as a woman fired in shame, but as a woman who stood in the middle of money and power and still kept her head high. Victoria watches from the doorway, the cool night air brushing against her skin. She thinks of the man in the photograph, of the life he chose, of the pain he left behind, and instead of anger, she whispers, "Thank you," because in losing him, she has gained something she didn't know she needed, a chance to become someone better. And that is where the lesson settles, deep and quiet. You never know what someone has lived through. You never know the battles they fight when no one is watching. You never know who they've loved, who they've lost, or what they carry inside their tired smile. So, before you judge, before you use power like a weapon, remember this. Respect costs you nothing, but it can give someone back their whole world.